subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello. In this video, we will discuss the summary of the play Pygmalion written by George Bernard Shaw. First of all, let's have a brief introduction to the play. Pygmalion was first premiered in German translation at Harburg Theatre in Vienna in 1913. Its English premiere took place at Majesty's Theatre in London in 1914. The title of the play is named after a Greek mythological figure, Pygmalion, who fell in love with one of his sculptures called Galatea, which then came to life. The play has 5 acts and is set in London. The play is about a flower girl, Eliza, the only character in the play who changes under the stress of circumstances. The themes of the play are class, gentility and manners, marriage and prostitute. Summary of Act First. The first scene is set in London on a rainy night. Some people are caught in rain and have taken shelter in the portico of St. Paul's Church. There is a girl called Eliza who sells flowers, a mother with his daughter Clara Hill, and son Freddie, a note-taker and colonel whose name is Pickering. They all are waiting for a cab. Freddie has gone to search for a cab while his sister Clara is waiting impatiently for him. Meanwhile, Freddie returns without any cab, but his mother sends him again to search for a cab at some other places. As Freddie leaves in a hurry, he collides with the flower girl Eliza and her basket falls down. Eliza demands money from Freddie's mother as some of her flowers get crushed. The mother pays the sum which Eliza demanded. Another elderly man comes there to take shelter. Eliza requests the elderly man to buy some flowers. The elderly man gives her money but does not buy any flower. A man advises Eliza to give some flowers to the elderly man as there is a note-taker who might be a detective. Some claim him a policeman and others call him a busybody. But in reality, he is Professor Henry Hagnus, Professor of Phonetics. He is studying the various dialects spoken by the people. Meanwhile, the rain stops and people begin to leave slowly. Both mother and daughter are waiting for Freddie, who has not yet returned and decided to leave for bus stand. Now only 3 are left there: Eliza, Professor Hagnus, and the elderly gentleman. Hagnus introduces himself as the Professor of Phonetics. He tells them that he can recognize an Irishman or a Yorkshire man by his accent. Now the elderly gentleman introduces himself as Colonel Pickering, the author of the book Spoken Sanskrit. Pickering invites Hagnus to his residence and promises that he will visit his home also. As they leave, Eliza once again asks Hagnus to buy some flowers, but Hagnus throws some money for nothing in her basket. Freddie now appears with a cab. As he finds his mother and sister have already left, he picks up Eliza in his cab. Eliza now reaches her home. The condition of her apartment shows that she is living in difficult circumstances. Summary of Act 2. This scene is set inside the residence of Professor Hagnus, where Pickering is taking lessons for phonetics with other pupils of Hagnus. Mrs. Peirce, the housekeeper of Hagnus, enters and informs the professor that the flower girl has come to take phonetics lessons from him. She tells professor that the flower girl is ready to pay 1 shilling per lesson as her fee. Hagnus tells that he can transform her into a lady of highest rank. Pickering then tells Hagnus if he can do so, he will bear the expenses of the poor girl. Hagnus then orders his housekeeper to give the girl a proper bath and rub her body with a brush and soap. Hagnus even threatens the girl to be obedient and docile. Eliza realizes that she has nobody to take care of her, even her stepmother doesn't look after her. Hagnus now speaks softly and tells her that she has to stay with him for the next 6 months to learn how to speak beautifully like a lady. Hagnus also tells her that at the end of the 6 months she will be sent to Buckingham Palace. But if the king finds out that she is not a lady, she will be imprisoned in the Tower of London. Eliza now leaves with Mrs. Peirce to her bedroom, which has a well-furnished bathroom attached to it. Miss Peirce asks to remove her clothes and wrap herself in a nightgown. As Eliza comes to the bathroom, Mrs. Peirce asks her now to remove the gown. Eliza refuses to do so, but Mrs. Peirce throws her in the bath and begins to rub her body to make her clean and tidy. Meanwhile, Pickering, during the conversation with Higgins, seeks an assurance from the professor that he will not take any advantage of Eliza's stay with them. To which Higgins answers that teaching is impossible unless pupils are sacred. Meanwhile, Eliza is given a Japanese dress and Higgins is committed to change her bad habits. Now Alfred Doolittle arrives there in search of his daughter. Higgins quickly reveals that his daughter is upstairs and considers it a plot against him to extract money. But Doolittle confesses that he has come there neither to take away the girl nor to extract money. Doolittle begs him to give him only £5. During the conversation, Doolittle advises Higgins to marry Eliza, otherwise he will regret later. As Higgins gives £5 to Doolittle, Eliza appears there in Japanese dress. Everyone is astonished to see the transformation she has undergone. Doolittle leaves, suggesting Higgins to give Eliza a good beating if she is not obedient. Eliza now gives detailed account of her life and the behavior of her father. She tells Higgins that her father must have come for money which he needs for drinking. Then Higgins begins to give lessons to his pupils on phonetics. Summary of Act 3rd. This scene is set in the drawing room of Mrs. Higgins, the mother of Professor Higgins, where she is writing some letters. She is an old lady about 60 years old. It is her home day and she expects some visitors there. His son Professor Higgins is first to arrive there. As Professor Higgins comes, he tells his mother that he has picked up a common flower girl and has taught him to pronounce English correctly. Now Professor Higgins tells his mother that he has invited the flower girl to his mother's place to see how she behaves in a fashionable society. He also tells her mother that the flower girl speaks English almost as his mother speaks French. Meanwhile, Mrs. and Miss Anisford Hill arrive there. Higgins is sure that he has met the mother and the daughter somewhere, but cannot remember where. The next visitor is Colonel Pickering, who is followed by Mr. Anisford Hill, Freddie. At last, the name of Miss Eliza Doolittle is announced and she appears in a fashionable dress, looking pretty and beautiful. Freddie is sure that he has met her somewhere, but cannot remember the place and only stares at her. As the guests leave, Freddie remembers that she is Flower Girl and had met her at the corner of Convent Garden. When all the guests have left, Professor Higgins and Colonel Pickering ask Mrs. Higgins if the Flower Girl is presentable. Mrs. Higgins answers that her pronunciation is almost clear, but her manners still need to be changed. She tells them that they have got a doll to play, which is fortunately a living one. Professor Higgins replies that this is the most difficult task he has undertaken. Now both Colonel Pickering and Professor leave and decide to take Eliza to the ambassador's garden party to see if she can pass as a princess. Higgins meets his pupil, namely Nepomuk. Eliza appears and Pickering asks her if she is ready. Eliza answers him that she is not doing it now first time, but she has done it almost 50 times. There in the grand party, Eliza proves herself as a Hungarian princess from a noble blood. Even one of the old ladies tells Eliza that she speaks like Queen Victoria. Summary of Act 4. This scene is set at the residence of Professor Higgins. Higgins, Eliza and Pickering return home after having dinner outside at a restaurant. All of them are feeling tired because they have attended 3 parties in a day. Now Eliza was a great success. Pickering tells Higgins that he was feeling nervous and asks him if he was feeling nervous at the grand party. He tells him that Eliza played her part well, but she is under strain. Meanwhile, their conversation angers Eliza and she leaves the room. Higgins tells him that Eliza was not really nervous, but tells him that he might have given up the whole thing if he had not accepted the bet to change her. Now Eliza, in anger, throws slippers one by one at Higgins, who was looking for his slippers. Higgins is stunned at the behavior of Eliza and asks her why she has behaved so. Eliza calls Higgins a selfish brute, and in response he calls her an arrogant insect. There now starts a hot conversation between Higgins and Eliza. Higgins then tells Eliza if anybody has ill-treated her or she has any complaint against Pickering or Mrs. Peirce, to which Eliza replies no. Higgins then tells her that she is behaving like this because her strength troubles her. Higgins tells her to go to sleep and say prayers. Eliza tells Higgins which things she should consider her own and what she should return so that she may not be accused of theft. Eliza says it because she has decided not to stay in his house. She takes off all her jewelry and also returns the ring which Higgins had given her as a present. Higgins now leaves and goes to his bedroom at once. As Eliza comes out of the house, she meets Freddie. Eliza hugs him and kisses him because both of them love each other. A constable present there drives them off. Both of them move away to other place and again start embracing and kissing each other. Then another policeman interrupts them. They now decide to take a taxi so that no one will disturb them from love-making. Eliza also plans to visit Mrs. Higgins in the morning to decide her future. Summary of Act 5. This scene is set in the drawing room of Mrs. Higgins. Eliza has already come and is in a room on the upper story. Mrs. Higgins is told by her maid that Professor Higgins and Colonel Pickering has arrived. Mrs. Higgins tells the maid that Eliza should not come down unless she is summoned. Now Higgins bursts in and informs his mother that Eliza had run away last night. Mrs. Higgins tells him that she should have frightened her. Higgins tells her mother that Eliza went to turn off lights, but instead of going bed, she went away. Mrs. Higgins tells him that Eliza has right to leave if she likes. Now Pickering enters and informs that the police inspector suspects them for Eliza. Mrs. Higgins tells them that they should not have taken the matter to police, because Eliza neither was a thief nor a lost umbrella. Meanwhile, Mr. Doolittle, who is fashionably dressed, appears on the stage. Higgins is surprised to see him in such dress and asks him if he had found Eliza. Mr. Doolittle in reply surprisingly asks him if he has lost Eliza. After a long conversation, Mrs. Higgins tells that Eliza is upstairs in the house. She tells him that Eliza came here in the morning with her luggage. She tells him that Eliza has blamed that she was ill-treated by Higgins and Pickering. Eliza has told his mother that on previous night, Higgins and Pickering were having conversation with each other and completely ignored her. Eliza has blamed that they didn't say a word of appreciation for her trouble she took. Now Mrs. Higgins tells Professor Higgins that if he behaves politely, then she will call Eliza in the room. Mr. Doolittle is sent away for some time. Eliza, who is well-dressed, now enters and politely greets Higgins and Pickering. Higgins is angry and tells her mother that he created this thing out of the squashed cabbage leaves, and she pretends to play the fine lady with him. Eliza tells Pickering that she is grateful to him not because he has given her dresses and money, but he is generous to everybody. Doolittle now enters and Eliza is surprised to see him well-dressed like a bridegroom. Doolittle tells them that he is going to marry and invites all of them. As Mrs. Higgins goes upstairs to get dressed, Eliza and Higgins are left alone. There now starts a hot conversation between Higgins and Eliza. Eliza tells Higgins that she will not stay with him more to pick up his slippers and go on errands for him. Higgins tells now politely to Eliza that he will miss her. Eliza replies that if he misses her, he can look at her photographs or can listen her recordings on gramophone. Higgins replies that photographs and machines do not have souls and feelings. Higgins tells her that he is ready to adopt her as his daughter and Pickering is already an old bachelor who will not marry her. Eliza tells that she has never thought of them in that way and reveals that she and Freddie are in love with each other. Meanwhile, Mrs. Higgins enters and is ready to go out to attend the invitation. Their discussion ends and the curtain falls.